You got to pump it up, don't you know? Pump it up. You got to pump it up, don't you know? Pump it up. You got to pump it up.
Chance to exert some of their own, and he targets the back post, and they've got the opening goal of the semi-final, and it's Jason Kerr who comes up with a big moment for the Saints. St Johnstone 1, Hibernian 0, and it's the Patcher side who strike first. Big Conway, the right foot, and it's in again, they've got a second, and Sean Rooney has scored once again for St Johnstone. They've got 1 foot in the Betfred Cup final now. St Johnstone seizing their opportunity. Neat pass from McCann to Rooney. What a ball that is! And they've got their third. It's Conway. Craig Conway makes it St Johnstone 3, Hibernian 0. And surely now St Johnstone have done enough to put themselves into the Betfred Cup final.
Well, if that doesn't get you in the mood, I do not know what will. We are back. It's episode 5 of Dogger Saints, an unofficial St Johnstone podcast. We talked to Sky Sports presenter Joe Wilson about St Johnstone scholarships and Soccer Saturday. Legend Nick Dasovic talks all things League Cup final. And finally, have you ever fingered a pie at McDiarmid? It's midweek. It's episode 5, the Dogger Saints unofficial St Johnstone podcast. We're here with part 2 of our cup final special. As always, I'm once again joined by the man who claims to be the creator of Perth Ross's biggest jokes, but is in fact Perth Ross's biggest joke himself. The man Kieran McInnesby just can't remember. It's Dan.
Well, a glowing intro.
I try my hardest.
Aye. How are you doing, Sam?
Oh, good. It's been some week with the build-up.
It has. Yeah, I mean, it's getting very exciting now, isn't it?
It is. I've been pulling out all the old Saints shirts out the locker this week to try on. I've had my 1998 one on just now, so all I'm doing is thinking about Saints at the moment.
Yeah, you and me both. It's starting to get that feel, isn't it? It's starting to get that big game feel, that big anticipation, and yeah, I just can't wait. Can't wait for Sunday now, and hopefully we have something to celebrate.
That's it. All eyes are now going to be on the 11 that Callum Davidson puts on the field on Sunday. A few talking points with that. Tanser or Booth, first and most importantly.
Yeah, it's the biggest call for me, really is. And in terms of, obviously there's a few injury doubts still kicking about and whatnot, but in terms of like a straight selection decision, it's the biggest call. Yeah, it's going to be harsh on whoever misses out. That's the long and short of it. Unfortunately, that tends to happen with cup finals.
You got to feel a bit sorry for Scott Tanser, who's nothing of his own doing, but Booth came in on Saturday and had a blinder.
He did. He really did. And it's about balancing the side, really. But in terms of the wing-back slot, I mean, Booth maybe wasn't someone that we thought of in terms of playing that role up until recently. We thought of Callum Booth as being pretty solid left-back in the traditional sense in a 4. But he's come in and now he's in form. He's in real form. I thought he was very good against Celtic, given he hadn't really played a lot of football. And I thought at Motherwell, he was absolutely exceptional, as they were to a man. So it's a big call, and I'm glad it's Callum making it and not me, because it really is. I wouldn't say it's going to be flip of the coin stuff, but it's going to have to be a gut call.
I think so. It's just maybe all down to attitude in training this week, just to see how Tanser reacts to maybe sitting on the bench on Saturday against Motherwell. The next big one is the Craig Davidson Conway one up front situation.
In my opinion, he's got to go 2 up front. It works so well against Motherwell. And obviously, McDiarmid getting the 2 goals against Motherwell. Kane, again, had a very good game without getting the reward on the score sheet. I mean, Kane's guaranteed starter.
Yeah.
No matter which system they play, Kane's in there. If they do go 1 up top, he's the player with the most capability in the squad to do that role. If they do go for 2, then he's the foil. I'm just sort of thinking about the options. There's players
that are guaranteed to start that game. So working from the back, Clark starts. Rooney, Kerr, Gordon, McCart, they all start. The 6 in the defensive area of the park, only one's up for grabs, which is Tanzer or Booth. Then in the midfield, you've got McCann, he starts. Witherspoon, if he's fit, he starts. Kane starts up top. Everything else, room for manoeuvre?
There is room for manoeuvre, and you've got options there. I mean, we've touched on it. The Murray-Davidson one it's a big call. For me, if Murray-Davidson shows this week that he is somewhere close to 100% fit, he starts. And I know I've seen people saying on socials and guys that I've spoke to saying, well, he's missed a few games. Not actually missed a lot of time. And we know what Murray's like. We know, what he is. He doesn't necessarily seem a player who, and with plenty of evidence of this, as you've said before, with season ticket up at PRI, it doesn't take so long to get back to it. Once he's back in, he tends to hit the ground running. Obviously, though, it's a cup final and it is different.
The last thing you want to do is put in a player like Murray-Davidson who's maybe not fully fit, because we've seen that in massive cases in the past. The one that springs to mind automatically is Ronaldo. I'm obviously not comparing Ronaldo to Murray-Davidson because we all know Murray-Davidson's the better player, but if you remember back to that final, he had a fit or something before the final and he was given injections to get through and he just didn't show up.
Yeah, he didn't show up. Remember that World Cup final? I mean, because he was the best player in the world, and it just didn't work out. He didn't have a good game. Brazil didn't have a good game. To boot. The other one I always remember was the Champions League final at Madrid derby. I think we did 2014 one. And Diego Costa had been injured sort of a few weeks before. They rushed him back. Atletico Madrid did. And within quarter of an hour, he's off. They're making the first sub.
Yeah.
And you absolutely do not want to end up in a situation where you've rushed someone back who's not fit, and quarter of an hour, 20 minutes into the game, you're having to change it up. So I think it does depend on the physio's assessment, and how the manager sees it as well. I'd say the player as well, but the player's always going to say, I'm ready, I'm fit. So it's a big call, but I think that one will sort itself out. And if Murray doesn't make it, then there's options, as you touched upon. Liam Craig, you'd imagine, would be the one to start if Murray isn't fit. Yeah, had a very good game on Saturday at Motherwell. He sat deep, he freed McCann up, what he does, and played the ball about nicely.
Any team that Callum picks never seems to... I think the big one was the semi-final when the team lines came out that Conway was going to start, and everybody thought this maybe not the best for it, but the guy turned up. He had a great game. I think he's got it's not a massive squad, but he can rely on any single player he calls in to go on and do a job.
Yes, absolutely. And what the sort of squad does, as you say, it's not a big squad, but what it does give you is those options. And as we've sort of said, we'd much prefer to see him playing that system. But if he does decide to go with the one up top and the two wingers, then you back the lads that come in to do it and to do the job. Played that system in the semi-final against Hibs. I'd actually say, that was because it was better suited to to countering the opposition. And it worked a treat. I think maybe the little giveaway was the fact that 2 weeks ago he played with the two up top. And all right, neither Kane nor McDiarmid ended up on the score sheet. But it worked. Mm-hmm. And it was a very good performance. So I think he'd probably go with that again. You've got the other option in midfield, and a lad who's played a couple of big games recently and done very well, Craig Bryson.
Yeah.
Now, he came off the bench yesterday and looked very, very lively. And he really did put himself, I'd imagine, in the manager's thoughts.
He kind of came on during the game where it was already put to bed. They've dropped a few gears, but he was lively. He was the one that was kind of ticking him over and getting him over the line. But McDiarmid, I would be really, really disappointed if he wasn't to play. But speaking of McDiarmid, going back to David McMillan, a few weeks ago, you talked about how he wrote his own Wikipedia page. Looking at Cotton Eye Joe, indeed. Looking at McDiarmid's Wikipedia page today, I'll just read this out to you. So Guy McDiarmid is an Israeli professional footballer who currently plays for St Johnstone as a forward. Guy's reign as King of Perth started the day he moved to Scotland. He is still currently the present King of Perth.
And that is a very apt description. He is the darling of the fans at the minute. And he does present, the reason for that is he presents something different. And he is a little bit of an unknown because we still don't know a lot about him. He sort of came in at the start of the season. We never saw him. Now he started getting a few games. He's outstanding at Motherwell. Absolutely outstanding. I mean, that goal he scored, the first one, the penalty was very well put away as well. But the first goal, it was something we've not really seen from many other Saints players this season.
In years,
probably, yeah. It was because we scored some good goals this season, but they've generally been like the build-up, the ones at Kelly that we covered previously. were good goals, very good team goals. And even the ones, this is probably playing into the hands of the set-piece merchants, naysayers, but some of the goals Saints have scored from set pieces have been really, really good goals. Good delivery and good finish on the end. So, but McDiarmid just gives you something different. Picking the ball up, dropping a little bit deeper, picking the ball up 25 yards from goal, and then just having the confidence, having the, backing himself to have a ping from there, and it was a heck of a ping.
All the goals he scored have all been different. We've had a header from a corner, we've had a peach from outside the box, we had one kind of in the right place at the right time in front of goal, and a penalty. So he's got different goals in his locker. So I trust Callum Davidson to pick the right team for the day. If Saints going to win the Cup, that brings us on to our next point. Would you consider Callum Davidson, considering he's a record transfer fee holder still, he won the Scottish Cup as assistant. Now, if he was to go in as manager and win the League Cup in his first season, would he be considered the greatest Saint of all time?
It's a big claim. It's one that we need a lot more dissection on, but he's certainly in the reckoning. In terms of overall contribution to Saints, because don't forget, we've mentioned about him being a record transfer. There was a reason he was a record transfer, and that's because he was a very, very good fullback. He was a fine footballer. Obviously, he was very well thought of as a coach, an integral part of Tommy's backroom staff. So we did have such a fantastic period with a cup, not just a cup win, but with the European adventures,
which Callum Davidson played a part of as well. Played in his Kaiserspor. He was in the squad that finished third in the table. So add that to his CV at St Johnstone. Local lad, came back after being away. He's my eyes, he's the number. If he does I don't think it's all down to if he wins the Cup or not, but he's certainly got to be in the reckoning for being the all-time greatest Saint of all time.
He's got to be in the reckoning, and as we say, it's all-time greatest Saint. It's not like the best player to ever turf up and play for St Johnstone. It's about the overall contribution to the club. So you're looking at guys like, off the top of my head, Johnny Brogan, goal scorer. Callum is well within that territory. Yeah. Alan Main, Johnny Brogan, people like that. Dave Mackay, Stephen Anderson.
That's it. Still, speaking of which, Steve McLean scored the goal in the Scottish Cup final, now first team coach. So if Saints win the Cup, he's got that added to his CV. If he then steps in the hot seat, he would have to be up there with an all-time great.
He's got to be up there. So it's, there's so many names and for so many different reasons. So maybe what we'd like you to do, the listener, is get in touch with us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Let us know your thoughts, because this could be something we revisit. Well, I'm hoisting my mast into the Callum camp, I think.
Tommy Wright as well, another hero. He'll be in the top 50.
Yeah, Tommy Wright, Willie Ormond, or my personal favourite, Clive Smith.
Pointing this out, he's been obsessed to shoehorn the name Clive Smith into this podcast since episode 1.
He was good. He now plays for Atherton Colliery.
Nice. That's a downward spiral if I've ever heard one. But yeah, so let us know what you think. Is Callum Davidson the greatest of all time? You can let us know after Sunday. Well, we've got guests this week, and I think it's probably time to bring in our first one.
I think we should, Sam.
I think so as well. So, our first guest is originally from Perth before moving to the bright lights of London to be in front of the cameras at Sky Sports News. Can I introduce broadcast journalist, St Johnstone supporter, and all-round good guy, Joe Wilson?
Hello.
How are you doing? You okay? First and foremost, I would just like to say, is everybody safe and well?
Everybody is safe and well, yes.
Good. We've not seen you on our tellies for a little while now. That may be, obviously, the COVID pandemic, and you've got a little baba.
Yeah, I'm glad someone noticed. I was feeling a little bit like nobody's even noticed that I haven't been on the telly for a while. But no, yeah, little baby. So I actually fell pregnant in January time, so before this pandemic hit us all. And Sky basically said no pregnant people were allowed on site from March. So yeah, first lockdown. So basically wasn't allowed to go into work. Yeah, so it's been nearly a year now that I haven't worked. So yeah, basically my whole pregnancy, and now I'm on maternity leave with a 5-month-old.
And a house move in there as well.
There was a house move in there as well, 2 weeks into the first lockdown.
Oh.
But yeah, it's given me plenty of time to paint the walls and put new floors in, etc., etc.
What else there to do? Catch up on your daytime telly, bargain hunt, homes in the sun, all that good stuff. Everyone's
I mean, you're making it sound like a bit of a holiday. It's quite difficult having a little 5-month-old baby.
As a man with 2 children myself, I know fine well how difficult it is. Baby brain isn't just for women, it is definitely the men get that as well. Because I remember a time, I think it was...
It's just you normally, mate.
That is, yeah. I'll give you that one, Dan.
Don't blame the kids for that.
I remember I have to blame them for the time. The wife made my lunch for me every day, and I grabbed the bag, and then I went into work. And at lunchtime, I was like, what's that funny smell? What did you make me? And I actually just lifted up a bag of rubbish from the side of the bin, and it wasn't even my lunch. I was like... What?
I mean, that is worse than mine. Mine just went to the extent of I couldn't remember what a fridge was called, but lifting up the rubbish instead of a sandwich.
Yeah. Being stuck in lockdown, I take it you've not had the chance to come back home?
No, so the last time I was at home was actually for the Six Nations last year that would have been, February time last year. I did a game at Murrayfields working for Scottish Rugby, and that was my last trip up there, which, at the time, obviously, I didn't realise it would be my last trip up there, but that was it.
Plenty of Zoom calls with the family.
Exactly, and that is the good thing, isn't it? The wonder of modern technology, that we can all meet up. Well, I say the wonder, it's actually sometimes they are awful, aren't they?
Yeah, I mentioned the word Zoom now to my wife and she just breaks out in a cold sweat. But you got into St Johnstone through your dad and your brother, would that be fair to say?
Yeah, exactly. So grew up in Perth, and my dad, I think it was at the time the Bank of Scotland used to sponsor Premier League.
Yeah.
Called back. So he used to work for the bank and used to go and take my brother, and I think I pestered them enough that just at one point he said, right, you can come now as well. I used to go with my dad and my brother. My mum used to come occasionally as well, and just got into it from there.
So you obviously went to the games, you got bitten by the bug, and do you still, obviously you moved down south, you've not been able to go to many games. No, at the moment nobody's going to the games, but you obviously keep in touch with the scores and things like that.
Yeah, and I mean that's the great thing about my job, working as a sports journalist in a sports television channel. I get to watch probably more than some people realise, because quite often we get the feeds of the games coming in. So if I'm on shift, it's quite funny because most people will have like the big United City derby on or whatever, and I'll be watching St Johnstone Aberdeen in my little corner.
By yourself, yeah.
No, but it's good that I'm very lucky to work in a job that involves watching a lot of sports, and within that I can watch my own team. So.
Well, people might not know, but me and Joe actually went to school. You were the year below me, and I always remember you from your school days being very sporty. You were really good at running, like sprinter.
Pretty speedy back in the day, yeah. A lot of basketball, netball. That was my thing.
That was your thing, and then you obviously carried that on. You went to uni and did journalism? Did you do sport?
Yeah, so I actually did. I went to America for a year on a sports scholarship I did a kind of final year of high school again. So
okay.
Finished high school over a year, then did another year of high school in America.
Can't get enough.
Scholarship, couldn't get enough. But that was really fun, and that's kind of where I got the bug for basketball as well. Played a lot of basketball when I was there, and also just the way they do sports over there is incredible. You know, everything is just bigger, and I mean, I played for a high school basketball team, and the bleachers would be full every single week of people coming to watch us. And, you know, our coach would wear his suit on the sidelines and take it very seriously. And just even the way when you watch basketball on TV, and I just love all the kind of American sports and the way they do it. But that's when I came back, I thought, you know, I want to get involved in some kind of sports production, whatever that may be. So yeah, studied media studies with sports studies originally at Stirling Uni, and then did a master's in multimedia journalism in Glasgow after that.
Great. So the two went hand in hand. You went into production first?
Yeah, so very luckily got a job for Sky, basically, just as I was finishing my master's, applied for their graduate training scheme. And yeah, for some reason they gave me the job, which initially was a 3-month placement, and it just kind of got extended to a year, working as a graduate trainee, so just doing a bit of everything within Sky Sports News. And then yeah, my first job was actually as a kind of junior production person. If you watch Sky Sports News, you have the yellow ticker that goes along the bottom of the screen, and kind of all the tables down one side. So I used to update all them. That was my first proper job there. So Soccer Saturday, it was me that was updating the scores along the bottom.
So when it came up with correction, and we go, oh, somebody's made a mistake, it was yourself.
Yeah, I'll take that. Not that there was many mistakes.
No, of course not. No, not odd occasion. It wouldn't have been you. You'd have been off that day, certainly.
So that was my first ever kind of proper job at Sky, and then just worked my way up to becoming a producer, and then jumped to in front of the screen about 4 or 5 years ago now.
So yeah, soon after you started, you came back up and you were invited as a guest of honour at the St Johnstone Hall of Fame dinner. Check you.
I know, that was honestly such a good night. I got my very own St Johnstone shirt with Wilson on the back presented to me.
Nice.
Got to have a good chat with Gordon Bannerman, that tends to do a lot of the St Johnstone stuff, and met a lot of the players, which was good. He kind of stitched me up a little bit because he invited me onto the stage just to do a little kind of Q&A type thing. and was asking me questions about like who my favourite players were and things. And it's quite embarrassing because, you know, all the players were sitting right in front of me, and I was like, and I think I'd said in a newspaper interview a few weeks earlier that Chris Miller was my favourite St Johnstone player at the time.
Okay.
And so I'm like standing there saying, yeah, Chris Miller is my favourite player, like a little girl, like going brighter and brighter red. But no, it was good fun.
And he's a really nice guy. We caught up with him as well. Genuinely a really nice, down-to-earth guy, Chris. So yeah, we were like...
He said I was his favourite sports TV presenter.
a mutual respect for each other there. But you came back up for the cup final?
Yes. So... Geez, that it's funny because it doesn't seem like that long ago, and then you see that it was 2014.
Yeah, 7 years now, isn't it?
Yeah, mad. So yeah, that was a funny one as well because the Scottish Cup, they always do a preview at Sky whenever there's a final coming up. So the Scottish Cup came to the studios, and I was working in production at the time, and I remember kind of, you know, getting up close to the cup and obviously talking about it being St Johnstone, and someone said to me, "Are you going to the game?" I was like, "Oh, I can't, like I'm working." And then I just thought, if I don't go to this game and they win, I will just regret it for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
So yeah, managed to get out my shifts. My brother, I don't know how he managed, but he had a spare ticket, so managed to get a last minute ticket. Got the train up that morning, got like the first train up from London, straight to Glasgow, and yeah, went to the game. And it was, I mean, you guys know yourselves as well. It was just an amazing weekend. Something that really stands, obviously the game was amazing, but I loved just the whole atmosphere in Perth that weekend. I thought it was I've never seen the city like that before.
No, the place on the Saturday night was absolutely buzzing, as again on the Sunday down by the concert hall. It was just insane. I remember I was the same day. I was in London at the time, and I went to the parade, and about 2:30 in the afternoon I had to drive back down to London. I drove up on the Friday and then had to drive back on the Sunday. Yeah, it was a great day out, probably something we'll never forget. And unfortunately we're going to be at a cup final again on Sunday, and we can't get there.
I know, it's so sad, isn't it? I was actually at the last time they were in the League Cup final was that, I mean, when was that? Back in the 90s?
1998, yeah.
And yeah, Celtic. I remember it because it was at Celtic Park.
Mm-hmm.
And I was with my brother again and my friend. Do you remember Carrie George? Did you ever?
Yeah, so no, Carrie, yeah.
Give her a little mention, I'm sure she's listening.
Yeah.
And yeah, Nick Dasovic scoring the goal for St Johnstone, but obviously we lost in the end to Rangers. But maybe the fact that we're not there will be a good thing, because I was joking watching the Scotland rugby when we beat England at Twickenham the other week, and I was like, it's been the fans' fault all along, and we never knew.
Just a crying shame, to be honest with you. The whole thing's a crying shame.
Yeah, it's not ideal.
It is really sad. Exactly. I mean, and I think St Johnstone, we've got such a good chance of actually winning this.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, yeah, it'll be really, really sad that the fans won't be there.
Oh, we'll make a day of it. We're having a Zoom party that day. We're all going to watch it. And, great. What a treat. More Zoom calls. But yeah, we need to make the most of it. So we'll see how we
It'll
get
be
on.
just as good, I'm sure.
Yeah, it'll be great. Your significant other, Dan, who's just been in the GB squad for the duathlon. Congratulations to him.
Yes, it's for his age group. Not that I'm trying to put him down, but he's getting a bit old, so he's qualified for over 40. He's 40, so he's over 40, Team GB.
Have you managed to convert him into St Johnstone yet? Is he a football guy?
So he's from Manchester, so he is a Manchester United fan.
Oh, we've got two now on this podcast.
Oh,
I like him already.
Yeah. Did you spot my pictures?
I did spot your Oasis pictures. They're absolutely cracking. Yep.
The Mancunian, big Oasis fan, big Manchester United fan. Yeah. So my baby's just woken up. Oh, you gotta be strange people. Is this Mabel? Yeah, Dan has just gone out. I was like, I'm doing this podcast. He's like, I've got to go to Marks and Spencer's and get some watermelon fingers.
First world problems, really is.
I know. But yeah, sorry. I think she'll be okay.
Also the most coherent guest we've had.
Yeah.
Apart from Job.
The second most coherent guest we've ever had on the show.
You excited about the cup final?
Yeah. Well, we spoke to Richie Foster during the week regarding social media and whether he reads messages out after matches. I've noticed you're not on the likes of Twitter. Would that be for similar kind of reasons?
Yeah, I mean, I came off Twitter a couple of years ago, just because I find it a really toxic place. I find that, I mean, the reason I came off was it was kind of a build up of a lot of just, I mean, I don't want to call it trolling, but it is trolling.
Yeah.
People being mean to you
For no
on
reason.
a social media platform. Just things like, some of it would be quite funny actually, where people would be like, oh, this Scottish girl on Sky Sports is making me feel like I've been hit over the head by a haggis every time she opens her mouth, which actually is quite funny.
I'd take that as a compliment.
But then you get the really horrible ones, and the one that sent me over the edge was I made a mistake on air, like I read something out that wasn't factually correct, which is, you live and you learn. It was silly for me to have not checked that or whatever. But people were like, oh, I hope when you get home your house is burned down. And you just think, what is... And I just thought, rather than me trying to answer back or whatever, I'm just going to come off this place. And then it takes away the platform for these people to say these things. Yeah. So, and everyone, like, we're all human. And you think people kind of forget that we are just people. And it's kind of like, you wouldn't say those things to a person in real life. Why is it okay to say it on the internet?
No.
People get all brave behind the keyboard, don't they? Yeah. And it's just not, it's not nice. And do you sort of find it as sort of a woman in sports broadcasting, Joel? Basically, do you think you're targeted more for your mistakes? Do you think like sort of people do pick up on that more?
Sometimes,
not even pick up on it more, just like sad people sort of then think, oh, look at that,
I think that, I'm glad to say that I think things have changed a lot, and I think the kind of women that came before me really have paved this amazing path for people like me to be able to work in the job that I do, and things have changed in that people are more accepting of women talking about sport, and I think even Sky Sports News has changed a lot. Like, I wouldn't have got my job if I wasn't a trained journalist, and we do all need to know our stuff. But I think you will always get those people that need you to really prove it to them. And I hope I do prove it to them. But then, like you say, they will be the ones that are very quick to pick up on any mistake. And it's sad that there are still those people that exist. But it's just this world that we live in, isn't it?
But look, you've now hit the pinnacle. You're on the St Johnstone Dogger Saints podcast. Where do you go from here? Where do you go from here?
I've shown them.
That's it.
Just another quick one, Joe, actually. We touched on it at the start, and obviously when you found out you were having Mabel, and then sort of very quickly this whole pandemic sort of blew up. And I mean, I know what it was like for me when I went into work one day in the morning, and then in the afternoon go home and don't go back. Obviously, I've been sort of able to carry on working for yourself. You haven't really had that option. Is that just, how do you feel about that? Because obviously Sky have been really good, and obviously it's like on one hand looking out for your welfare and Mabel's welfare and all that, but are you itching to get back? Or I wouldn't say bored, obviously. You got to be back.
It's true. No, I am bored. I think, like you say, Sky have been amazing because their number one priority throughout all of this has been their people that work for them. I'm very lucky that I wasn't furloughed, so I've still been paid throughout this whole time, even though I haven't been working. They're regularly in touch to make sure that people that are in a similar situation are okay. And I'm very lucky because loads of people have lost their jobs. I'm very lucky that I have a job to go back to. But I think every week or so at first I kept on calling my boss saying, "Can I get back on the road to next week? Can I get back on the road to next week?" And then as time went on and it got closer and closer to my due date, I was like, right, looks like I'm not going to be going back to work until after my maternity leave. But I will be going back in April. So
good.
Which kind of doesn't seem that far away now. And I'm in two minds about it because part of me is like, how can I ever leave my baby again just because we've spent so much time together?
Exactly. She's not going.
But the other part of me, just can't wait. Partly because it'll be just nice to get out of the house and have a reason to leave the house, but also because I just miss it. I love sports and I love my job and I love talking about sports and interviewing people and all that comes with it. So I'm really looking forward to getting back into it.
Great. Well, you've got your hands full. We'll ask you for a quick score prediction for Sunday.
I am going to go
4-0 or 5-0. Take your pick.
Well, I'm going to rein it in a little of it. I think 2-0 St Johnstone.
Joe, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thanks for coming on with us, and we'll hopefully see you on our telly soon.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. Great to talk to you.
Cheers, Joe. See ya.
Thanks, Joe.
What a bloody nice guest.
Oh, she was a delight. Absolutely delightful. Thoroughly enjoyed that chat there with Joe. Yeah, really interesting and really nice because we've had a lot of players on. So it's nice to have a different sort of insight from within the game. So, no, really appreciate Joe coming on and chatting to us and thoroughly enjoyed that.
Yeah, especially when she was dealing with baby at the time as well. We'll give her thanks for being on with us.
No, Mabel makes more sense than you.
That's not difficult. That fanfare only means one thing. Well, nobody will know because it's the first time we've used it, but that's what we're using to announce the results of our Twitter poll that we put up last week. Now, we've covered a lot of hot topics on this show from Estonian superstar Madis Vaiman, Cup final merchandise, and everything in between. But the burning topic this week was, what's the best pie at McDiarmid?
This is the real important question. This is high-level journalism coming right in your ears.
So, over 300 people voted on our Dogger Saints Twitter account, with the 4 options being Scotch, steak and gravy, steak and chorizo, and macaroni. Controversially, the winner was steak and gravy.
Now, I'll hold my hands up here, Sam. I voted for steak and gravy over steak and chorizo.
I'm a steak and chorizo man every day of the week, but that only had 31% of the vote. Steak and gravy 40%, Scotch 22%, macaroni 7%. There was other votes for chicken curry and steak and haggis, both excellent pies.
Great shouts. Great shouts. I think with the steak and gravy, what you get from that, you got to look at the whole picture with pies, Sam. I mean, steak and chorizo, yeah, flavour-wise, it's probably the winner. You can't argue it. It's two of life's great things. But you've got to look at the structural integrity as well into the mix. And I think you get a bit more structural integrity with a steak and gravy at McDiarmid. Yeah,
the steak and chorizo, many times I've been seen dipping 2 fingers into the bottom of the metal tin to kind of scoop out the remnants of scalding hot bits of chorizo.
On the subject though, and I'm starting to think I might have dreamt this. Okay, it's never come back, but I'm sure. Do you remember a friendly we had against Hartlepool a couple of pre-seasons ago? It was after we beat Sunderland 3-0, and then a week later, absolutely laboured against Hartlepool. But I'm convinced there was a chicken and chorizo served up.
Wow. If anybody at the club can confirm that, or anybody at that Hartlepool friendly can confirm that, that would be excellent to know.
I've never seen it again, and it was world class. But as I say, there is a chance I might have dreamt.
Chicken and chorizo. Any bakers listening wants to produce a special cup final chicken and chorizo pie, we'd be happy to do taste testing. Unless you make the pies for Falkirk FC. Seen on Twitter that there was a review of their pies by a fan, which I'm presuming was probably from Peterhead.
If Falkirk Stadium today for a pie review, but it's no good like. It's minging like I wouldn't recommend it to us. Yeah, that's just a horrible pie like.
Yeah, the guy didn't like the pie.
He did not like the pie, but it's a world-class video because my old man used to work up that way, and he used to, back in the sort of 80s, he used to work deepest, darkest Aberdeenshire and all that. And he said, the further north you go, people stop talking and start singing. And this lad is absolute living, breathing evidence of that. But, the pie itself, it looked okay.
I would really want this guy on to review pies with us. I could listen to this guy all day. Do you remember the programme Deadliest Catch? Which was about kind of fishermen. There was a Scottish version called Trawlermen, which was based in Peterhead. And the show came with subtitles because you couldn't understand a word these guys were saying. But I think he was from the same breed, this guy. But Falkirk pie's not so good. The winner of the St Johnstone pie competition was the steak and gravy. We should have had a subcategory though. The steak and gravy you can buy at the ground, or the steak and gravy pie you get at hospitality, which is slightly smaller but equally delicious.
Yeah, it's yet another hot button issue here on the Dogger Saints podcast.
Oh, we hit all the hard hitting issues here. So sticking on the theme of food, we're back to one of our features, insults you've heard at the game, and we're calling this one...
You've got no friends!
Thanks, we old Stone Radar. I knew that's content that's not going to die from that guy.
No, yeah. I bet nobody's ever heard that before.
So, as we say, we ask you to send in any insults you'd heard at the game, and a couple we've got in are food-based.
Yeah, I'm not saying we're hungry, but we've just done a section on pies, and then, now we're moving on to food-related insults. But we've got a belter. This one's coming for a pal of ours, and I've cheated word for word. So the context is, Saints were playing against Dundee United away at Tannadice, and future Saints manager, and actually at that point, future Saints player, Owen Coyle.
And Nike Store's customer.
And Nike Store's customer. customer. So we've got Owen Coyle had a sort of short-lived spell at Dundee United shortly before he came to Saints, and can't quite get my head around this. I'm just going to have to read it word for word. So a Saints fan from the away end at Tannadice decided to inform Owen Coyle that he had a puss like a bucket of chips. I have no idea what that means. Our mate Adam, who sent that in to us, also has no idea what that means, but it is absolutely exceptional.
I was going to put them off, if nothing else, when they try and work out what the fuck he's talking about.
I think the follow-up to that was that Owen Coyle was stood 5 yards away and just started laughing at it. So it's okay. But yeah, I'd like to think that he was ambling up and down the pitch for the rest of the game thinking, what the fuck does that mean? What the fuck was meant by that? So Coyle, face like a bucket of chips.
I got a message through on Instagram. It just said, Paul Wright, face like a pizza. That was all it said.
Yeah, fair enough.
And to round it off with a non-football related insult, it's not more of an insult, just a bizarre thing you could hear from a fan getting shouted at the game, and it's probably not something you'd hear too often. Kev on Facebook wrote, somebody shouted up behind him at the stand, St Johnstone, stop playing that silky passing football and get the ball lumped up the fucking park.
It takes all sorts, doesn't it, really?
You just can't win sometimes, can you? If you've heard anything ridiculous shouted at the football, be it insults or ridiculous tactics, just search Dogger Saints on Facebook, Twitter or Instagram, send us a message and let us know. Right, so one of the things we've thought about is, what do you think the weather's going to be like on Sunday? They're going to need studs, they're going to need mouldies. We thought we'd approach Scotland's most famous amateur weatherman, Windy Wilson. You okay?
Guys, how's it going?
Very well, mate. How are you?
Aye, no, I'm good.
Your good lady's a big St Johnstone fan?
Aye, she is. Gusty, yeah. I actually said to her, I'm doing the Saints podcast, later on tonight. I said to her a few days ago when I spoke to you, Sam, but she's like, no, I'm not doing it. Normally she's upstairs working, but she's downstairs just now in the living room, laughing and giggling. So
listening in.
Just in case you hear any shenanigans, it's her up to no good. But yeah, she's a big Saints fan. He was at the previous two cup finals back in 1998, was it?
Yep, we've got Nick Dasovic on the show later on, who scored the goal that day, so that'll be good.
Yeah, and her and young Windy actually were at the 2014 cup final down at Celtic Park. So she really enjoyed that day, especially. It was a special one as well, obviously having her son there as well.
Exactly. It was a good day for everything. Well, what I can remember of it.
Yeah, and obviously it's really unfortunate. I'm a neutral, but obviously I belong off to Ardor, and I worked in Perth for almost 25 years. So I'll be following Saints and Open Saints when it's pretty shit. There's going to be no fans at Hampden this weekend, but Gusty's got her virtual ticket.
Good for her.
I dare say the house will be covered in blue and white on Sunday afternoon. So we'll be sitting watching the game and cheering on the Saints. If we're in we sometimes go into the Campbell suite.
The one up the stairs. That's all right. Yeah.
Just to get the pies, the pies and the chicken leg. Time, eh?
That's it. The wedges. Can I beat it?
And we get the proper hospitality. It's a shirt and tie.
Yeah.
With the food and the beer. And to be honest with you, it's arguably one of the best hospitalities I've had in Scotland. You get well looked after, you get well fed, because it's quite smallish and there's a lot of staff. As soon as your glass is empty, you've got plenty of drinks. So it's a really good day out as well.
It's brilliant. I think it won an award actually. I think between it won third place best hospitality in Britain behind Man City and I think Arsenal. I think maybe then it was St Johnstone. So deservedly so.
It is reasonably priced. It was a good day out. We always used to kind of try and plan it, try and catch one of the bigger games, shall we say, and then after the football, you got down into the town, you got away to the dancing and that, so away to the Yorkie. So
I've never made it that far after hospitality.
I was going to say, I had a day sat next to your dad on that hospitality, Sam.
Oh God!
I ended up in an orphanage that day. I don't remember an awful lot about it.
Here's the big one though. The big question all Saints fans want to know, and most of the players: should they be wearing studs or mouldies? What's the weather going to be like on Sunday?
It'll be raining goals. Hopefully, raining goals. No. No, to be honest with you, the weather is actually looked quite nice this weekend. If you can just think back to just Monday this week, it was quite calm, no bad, blue skies, wee bit of clouds. So no, the weekend, Saturday is probably the slightly better day.
Okay.
It'll be a wee bit warmer, but I think we're going to see 12, 13 degrees, maybe 14. So I know people can't travel, and obviously within current restrictions,
Indeed.
there is a good chance you'll get out into your back garden. It will be calm, it will be dry, there'll be a bit of scattered cloud, there'll be some blue sky, and the sun's out and it's on you, it'll be warm. I think it's 2 o'clock in the afternoon or something?
2 o'clock
Sunday?
kick-off, yeah.
Aye. So I'm pretty confident, you'll get out the back, a few tinnies, barbecue, and, it is what it is, but
We'll make do.
the
We'll
next
make
door
do.
neighbour could be it as well, or whatever, and then it'll be a kind of a wee garden party sing-song, eh?
Well, I'm confident enough to have taken the Monday off work, so
Aye.
there will be no Easter man nor beast if we win on Monday.
Yeah.
So,
and to be honest with you, down in Glasgow for the players, it's very similar. That's the worst of the rain over now, so I'm guessing they'll be working on the pitch at Hampden. It'll be in tip-top condition for Sunday, and it's pretty much the same for the players. It's a pretty decent day for a game of football, I think.
good. That is what we want to hear. Wendy, it's been an
Really,
absolute
absolutely.
pleasure. Thanks for coming on and speaking to us. Enjoy the game on Sunday. Give your best wishes to Gusty. And
We'll do it.
and
Gusty, best wishes. Oh, I thought I was going to get a whoop. I just got a thumbs up.
that'll do.
Up on the Saint, she's shouting. Aye, so no, thanks for having me on, guys. And fingers crossed all goes well on Sunday. We'll be tuned in. So yeah, all the best.
Happy days. Thanks again, Wendy. Cheers, buddy.
Nice
cheers,
one,
guys.
Wendy. Cheers, pal.
There's Dasovic. Oh, it's a great equaliser. The Canadian international out of the blue. That's so reminiscent of the goal he scored against Hearts in the semi-final. Back it goes again to Dasovic. He can't stop that one. The Canadian international caps the best moments of the game for St Johnstone.
Now, Dan, I've been looking forward to this one for a while.
Yeah, you and me both, so I'm very, very excited about this one.
So our next guest arrived at St Johnstone relatively unknown, but soon became a club legend, scoring vital goals against Celtic, Hearts, Monaco, and the only goal in our previous League Cup final appearance. A Canadian Hall of Famer and the most capped player in St Johnstone history. A former member of the band The Virgin Whores, the Dogger Saints podcast would like to welcome future Saints Hall of Fame member Nick Dasovic.
How you guys doing?
Very well.
Okay, mate. Okay.
Thanks for getting in touch with us and coming on.
I remember that shirt you're wearing, that jersey.
Yeah. I just had this on by chance. I didn't pull it out of the bag especially for it.
Nick, I'm going to tell you, mate. I was on a call with him about 3 hours ago and he did not have that shirt on. He's put that on especially for you.
Yep.
That's beautiful. Maybe it's my. I don't have many of those left anymore. I don't know.
This is very much an XL. It wouldn't have been yours, I can assure you.
No. They had one size back in the old days of football. They had one size, and that was whatever size we got. There was everything fit like a bed sheet. It was. Mind you, if we had the new jerseys that have today, tight-fitting ones, it wouldn't look good on some of the boys in our team anymore.
It doesn't. The replica shirts these days are, like you say, and they're just not suited for the average football fan, I would say.
No, not at all. Well, congrats on this platform, you guys. Listen, it's great. Good for you guys, man. I hope it's a success. Great job. Hey, by the way, Kieran McInnesby, when he said that he won the ball in the Rangers game and also got the end of it, that's bullshit. I actually won the ball. I actually won it. And then it got to Miguel and then it went forward. So Kieran, so you can look at the video on that one.
Footage is on YouTube, so we can we'll post it up and we can all be the judge.
It's a good point because I was watching that just before we came on.
The ball bounced up, and I think I took a swing at it, and I can't remember who was on the ball, and I swung at it, and it popped into. It might have been Kieran. I don't know who it popped into, but I kind of won the ball off the second face corner, and then it went into Kieran, and then it was Miguel that took it and went for a run, then Kieran did the overlap, and then he gave it that cheeky goal celebration. But anyway.
Indeed. Right, well, we'll kind of talk about the start of your career. We're very conscious here, we're taking up your time here, but we'll start at the beginning of your career. You spent time in Croatia and Sweden. How did the move to Perth come about originally?
Yeah, I was playing in Sweden, a team called Trelleborg. They were in the Allsvenska Liga, the top division. And I was getting to the end of my contract, and basically it was they had said to me, look, we want to keep you, but how many international games do you have next year? I said, I have 10 games minimum. And they didn't like the fact that, I would have missed too many games, etc., because there's different things with the FIFA dates back in those days. Then my agent, a guy just calls and look, Paul Stewart knows of you. Would you come to Perth for a trial, to St Johnstone? I knew St Johnstone a bit because of Colin Miller. He had been at St Johnstone prior to me. So I spoke to Colin a little bit about it. But the other side of it, I really had nowhere to go. It was like either go to Scotland or figure another avenue out. So Paul saw me play in Vancouver when I was playing with Montreal Impact in a game, and he saw the game, remembered me, and then said, look, I need a player. And I happened to fit the profile the player's looking for. And I remember going to a trial game, and we played Hearts in a closed door game. There's a weekend off or something, and then ended up playing the game. We did quite well, the team in general. And then after that weekend, Paul just said, look, we want to keep you. The offer's there. Jim Weir, go take him out for a few pints. And that was it. Yeah, so it was right away. I kind of fell in love with the guys. They're just a bunch of met Roddy Grant right away. Called himself the White Pele. So that was my first introduction to Roddy. So just give me the ball, okay, no problem. So it was a good. Like I said, it was a good group of guys. Just a whole bunch of guys that just loved to play football, loved to enjoy their time in the dressing room and outside. It was good. And I fit in. It was good. I really enjoyed my time right away.
Yeah, you fitted in right away. The fans took to you right away. You scored some vital goals for Saints during your time here. Probably one of the most important ones in the league, certainly, was at Celtic Park. What's your memories of that night?
Yeah, I remember, Sandy took over just prior to that, so we had that momentum with Paul. Paul went to Dundee United, which is, that was his dream as a manager, to go coach his old team. So we were all kind of, upset at the time. I remember him telling me, because I was doing some extra work on the field and extra running myself and Philip Scott, and he pulled us, like, I'm leaving. And we were kind of gutted, but at the same time, it's great move for Paul. And then Sandy came in, who I didn't know anything about. He didn't know anything about me, so it was kind of really, really fresh start. And it actually kind of almost gave you a little bit more energy to even prove yourself once again after that time that Paul was there. So I think it helped a lot of us to up our game a little bit again. And then we went to Parkhead. I remember this midweek game and under the lights. And I think at that time it broke the record in Scotland for sure, possibly England as well, of the most people, like the biggest crowd. I think they just had opened that one stand. They finished their stand. There was over 60,000. So yeah, when we won, when I put the goal, and to hear that silence was like a beautiful silence. It was fantastic, right? So, and after the game, I know they went after the Celtic team. I mean, if you look back at the highlights, Alan Main stood on his head that night too. So we got to tip our hat to that, right? But in general, you look at it, we had a good team. We rode our luck a bit in that game, but that game was memorable because it seemed to kick everything off for us, and to get that result in a place like Parkhead and that type of a crowd, playing players, Paul Lambert, Larson, etc., the rest of them, it kind of gave us that hope and like, hey, we can actually do this and go on and kick on and actually do some damage in the league this year, which we ended up being third. I think that was the year we finished third. So
yeah, we had a good old time at it. I think Sandy Clark's first game was a match against Hibs in the League Cup, which we absolutely pummeled them in. I think was it 3 or 4-0?
I think it was 4-0. Yeah.
Yeah, really good night. That was under the lights as well. Packed house at McDiarmid. A good night. But the League Cup form superb all the way through. League Cup semi-final against Hearts at Easter Road. Again, you're on the score sheet. Alan Preston with an absolute thunder bastard of a goal. Boyle finishing it. I don't know how else to describe it. It was an absolute peach. Were you confident going into that match that you could take something away?
Yeah, again, I think what got us going a bit too, and we just, again, I just met Sandy. He just took over the team, but he had gave us the update on how he actually was dismissed from Hearts just prior, the last time he was at the club. And I don't think he left with fond memories. So, a little bit, we want to stick it into Hearts a little bit for the manager's sake too. I know that sometimes you don't say that you don't take things personally, but I actually think people do take personally. It's sometimes good to carry the chip on your shoulder if you do it the right way. If it doesn't consume you, but it actually motivates you in the right way. So it was one of those games where I think we wanted to prove people that, yeah, we're real, we're a small team from a small area, but we're going to prove ourselves. And I think we did that night. And I know there wasn't a ton, but if you look back, there's quite a few Perth supporters and St Johnstone supporters out that night, and just to hear them in the background and when you scored goals and that stuff, it was warm because we did have a a good following for a small club. Even when I first came to St Johnstone, I remember playing, teams like Partick Thistle or Falkirk in front of 5,000-6,000 people in first division. We played Dundee, there's 7,000-8,000 people. So there are people coming to watch us play. And that was a credit. That's one thing when I watch St Johnstone today, obviously not today with the pandemic, but going back, a year or so ago, to see the stands as empty as they are, it's kind of disheartening for me. And, I, as a person, someone that played for St. Johnstone, that I could openly say it's for my career, it's my favorite team, the best team I played for in terms of what I gained as a player and outside the club. And it'd be great to see, hopefully one day, that the 3 or 4 sides are filled up. Now sometimes they're full for us because Rangers would bring 3/4 of the stadium or Celtic, but it was still a really kind of cool place to play. It wasn't that massive stadium. It was just intimate, and when it was packed, it was a fun place to play.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I was watching games from 98, 99 season back, and that is the one thing you really do notice compared to now. It's just how many folk are packed into McDiarmid. Because, now, you half the time don't even open up the couple of the stands because it's just not worth it, really. So, yeah, it is, I think that's a real point. It's just a shame. And it's obviously something that hopefully maybe when the pandemic's over, people might have the appetite to go back in bigger numbers. Maybe not in the numbers that we're going and sort of watching you play, Nick, and that team, but maybe more than's been going sort of just pre-pandemic.
Yeah, you sometimes think, is it because of sometimes when teams start to falter, they don't have the same results. But, you look at St. Johnstone since the time I've left, and even particularly the last 7-8 years under Tommy Wright, the results were there. They were finishing in the top half. They were going into Europe. And it wasn't, they had cup runs. It wasn't like they were playing any kind of terrible football or they weren't getting the results. So, if it was opposite, relegation upon relegation, poor performances, you'd kind of go, okay, well, no one's going to come support the team. But, when you look at it, the way what they did, it was, and I think Tommy Wright mentioned that he just took the Kilmarnock job. And I know that he mentioned that in one of his interviews, saying if Kilmarnock had the same results as St. Johnstone had over there, there'd be a packed house at Rugby Park. So, so then, I think that's on the people of Perth and the supporters, and to hopefully when this whole thing goes to normal, some kind of normalcy, that we'll get some people back in the stands. And again, I've watched the team under Callum, and they're playing good football. They truly are. And we know the budget restraints that a club like that have. So to do what they're doing, be in a cup final, they're right now, is it, if I'm not mistaken, 8th, I think, in the league table, is 8th or 9th or something, 8th. But if they continue, I don't think there'll be any reason why they're not going to finish the top 6 again. I really don't. But hopefully one day they'll get the people back in that stadium. And pandemic being away from everybody, maybe people will go nuts again. Let's get some back to McDiarmid Park, and it'll be kind of the first of many sold-out venues down there.
But in talking to crowds, I think it was about 12 or 13,000 going through the Celtic Park for the League Cup final that Sunday afternoon against Rangers. One of your finest moments in a football jersey, I presume. Club jersey, certainly. The wrong end of a 2-1 scoreline, but a great day out for you.
Yeah, it was. I remember we, obviously we spent the night away in a hotel. I can't remember what hotel we were at. We don't do that very often, because that's again another budgetary restraints. Yeah, to spend a night in another hotel in what they call like a mini quarantine, whatever, was nice because we had a quiz night that night, I think, not mistaken, and we just kind of hung out and we banded together. And I remember that the day of the game, it felt just like another normal day at the park, to be honest. I didn't feel that until we walked out and we looked to the right, where the supporters were, and it's like it was a lot of St. John's supporters considering what we normally go to. So that was definitely a fun time. Even the build up in the city, all the blue and white ribbons, on the storefronts, and I had a lot of friends that had other coffee shops or local bars or restaurants. Your money was no good there during that time, so that was obviously a nice little gesture from the city. And just people were really behind us and wanted us to do it. And I keep telling people the reason why a lot of us were disappointed when we lost games or it bothered us is because a lot of us lived in Perth. And that picture that you guys had on your podcast, where I think it's that's when Kieran scored, and there's Miguel in the background. You can just slightly see his head. And there's Danny Griffin and Nathan Lowndes and myself. We all lived in Perth. That whole group we live in the city. So that to me meant a lot because we actually played for the city. We truly did. It was one where we know when things went poor, we felt it. And when things went well, we enjoyed it. So it was one of those where I think And Paul Sturrock had a rule when he signed for St Johnstone, you had to live within a certain kilometers of the city. That was one of his things in the beginning. Obviously, it started to break that mold after he left. But so again, going back to the supporters, just being there and be able to give the supporters a day out in a venue like that. Obviously, Hampden, never got to play at Hampden because it was under construction when I was there. But in general, it was just a fabulous day out. Obviously, on the wrong side against an incredibly gifted, talented team. I mean, that Rangers team today would do some damage in Europe, like some really damage. You know, we look at the players on that team. So for us to even push it a little bit, that was to us was a good day. You know, I remember going back to town, and no matter what, we had a little do at the stadium, and then I guess all the boys went down to the, I think it was the Ice Factory, whatever it was back then, and, had a few drinks. So it was just one of those events where, the city, although we lost, they still celebrated the fact that we could, put St. Johnstone a little bit on the map in a sense. So it was to me, it's kind of a start of something that was going to happen for years to come. And anytime St. Johnstone make finals, I know obviously won the Scottish Cup and now again the League Cup final, it gives us a chance to relive our memories, which, I thank those young lads that are giving us a chance to talk about these moments that were special in our times. And I'm hoping 20 years time we'll get to do the same thing. Hopefully this, coming up in a different light, that they're going to be hosting the cup, not like we did. But what are you going to do?
The Rangers team you talked about had Colin Henry, Guibars won the World Cup just that summer, Amoruso, Kanchelskis, you name it. It was a star-studded team. Well, most people even wanted just something to celebrate and cheer that day. And we got that with your wonder strike. It was always going in. I think it took a wee nick off Colin Henry's head, but it was always going in the.
No, it didn't. You got the wrong video angle.
Flew in the top corner, didn't touch the thing. He moved out of the way because it was going that fast. It would have taken a head off.
I've watched this video probably a lot more recently than you, Sam, and nowhere near it. Colin Hendry might as well have still been in Blackburn. He was that far away from it. No, not having it.
No, it was the real irony of that day was we got pummeled, not beat, but pummeled by them 7-0. I don't know how many weeks before that game it was, and I remember Sandy Clark taking us in the next day, and we never had a day in after the game day, but he brought us in, which is kind of, and he didn't even give us a bollocking. He just said, look, watch the game back. And it was a really kind of the way he said it. Look, if it wasn't for those 7 goals, it wouldn't have lost. But I mean, he meant it in the way that we really were. And we had Kano sent off early. So, and we had Guivar scored 3 goals. And, but that's why when I scored the goal in the cup final, it was a moment where it went from, oh my God, it's 1-0 in the 6th minute. We're going to get smashed again on National Cup final, till like 1-1 in 7th minute. I think that was the magical part of that goal. It wasn't anything else but like, oh my God, we have a chance now. Like, so that was the belief part. And I think as I'm running back, I don't know if you can read my list, but I'm saying something to the fact that it ain't going to happen again kind of thing. So, and that was the whole idea. And that's why that goal meant a lot at that time. Again, I think if we would have played that game out of 100 times, maybe we nick a win or two. That's the reality of the squad of that Rangers had. I mean, they were just enormous and incredible and very humble. To be fair to that whole group, you talk to those guys, very humble type of players. So, even when they won the cup, etc., obviously celebrated, but so they're a good group of professionals. But yeah, for us, that goal stands out for me. Not that I had quite a good goal, was that we stopped a very early bleed. That was the biggest one for me.
After the first one in, after 3 minutes, you felt feared the worst. But yeah, going back to that 7-0, we didn't until they scored. We weren't playing that badly. You're more than competitive in the game. It was just one of them head scratches. You just kind of, like, as in our group of mentality, obviously just write it off and move on from there. So yeah, great stuff. And take it you're obviously still keeping in touch with the scores and the games. Did you get to watch many or get to see any?
I would say I'd watch, in the last, I probably pretty much watch one of every 2 or one of every 3 games, depending what time it is, or with no disrespect, if let's say Man City's playing at the same time or some big game or whatever. But in general, I try to watch St. John's. I'll follow them always online or on Twitter or the scores and, know the lineups, etc. I've seen the last game I saw would have been is a comeback win against Kilmarnock, actually, the 3-2 win. That's the last game I saw. I missed the last one against Celtic at home at McDiarmid Park. But but in general, I try to watch as many as I can. It's kind of neat just hanging out 7:00 in the morning. That's when kickoff is in Vancouver. So I have my first espresso and then get to watch the match. It's a nice breakfast, sit-down breakfast for me. It's brilliant.
How's the coaching going?
Good. I'm with the Vancouver Whitecaps in the MLS. I'm with their with their highest academy team, which is the 19s. So my job is to fill the first team as many youngsters as we can throw through. Obviously, our last one we put through at some significant name is obviously Alphonso Davies, who's gone on to do some quite interesting things at Bayern Munich. But he was part of our group going back. No, it's been good. It's a different, challenging landscape in terms of again, we keep going back, but the pandemic I think has taught a lot of us, particularly some of us, we would call us older coaches, that it's a whole different aspect of coaching now in terms of how to deal with the young athletes, what they're going through on a personal level outside the game. So it's been a really interesting time. It's taught us a lot, and it's been good. I've really enjoyed it. We're also one of the only teams in Canada that can actually train because of the COVID situation. We have our numbers aren't too bad where we live in Vancouver. They're probably hovering around 300 to 400 a day in a population of the province of 4 million. So it's not too bad. Vaccines are starting to roll out slowly, albeit. But so we're hoping that by summertime there'll be some form of, okay, we're going to get back into it. So that's being able to have the guys on the field and training and just being, because as we know, it's not just a pandemic in terms of the COVID, there's also a pandemic in the mental capacity of the athletes and how they're dealing and coping with the situation. It's not easy. For me, it's easy. I'm 50 plus. I've kind of seen it, done it, and I can kind of get on with things, but it's these young guys are missing out on things. I do feel for the young generation, but hopefully they'll be strong and resilient, and they'll build something for the future for them, and they'll kick on and be good human, good models, good citizens, good players, whatever they happen to do. So again, that's our biggest thing at our club right now, is keep them fresh, keep them lively, keep them engaged, and keep them focused on their health, and not on every way, the mental health and the physical health, for sure.
Took the words out of my mouth. Their mental and physical health is key and vital. Have you ever had much dealing with David Witherspoon?
I've talked to him a few times, particularly when I was back in Scotland a few times. I met up with him, obviously follow him on with the national team. He's actually, watching him lately, he's really turned a corner for me. Like, he's playing in some really incredible performances. He looks like he's enjoying his football again. I think it comes down to the way Callum's playing him, and that kind of, when Callum plays in that 3-4-2-1, where he's one of the two number 10s you want to call, he's really flourishing there. Fantastic technical ability. He's really got good tight control of the ball. Seems to be on the ball quite a bit, and he's had a chance to play for Canada. Unfortunately for him, Canada's growing as a country incredibly right now with Alphonso Davies and Jonathan David, who's at Lille, and we've got a bunch of others. So he's if he would have played when I was playing, he'd have probably 30 caps by now. If he's going to be king. But right now he's in a dogfight. But if he ever gets a chance, he'll definitely bring something to the national team, because he's got some talent, for sure.
How good is the talent pool? How good are the guys coming through?
Yeah, it's quite impressive. It really is. I think one thing that we have first and foremost, and you can see it with Alphonso Davies, and then like Jonathan David's gone to Lille. He was in Belgium. He's actually got sold for more money than Alphonso Davies. So he's right now our most expensive football in the history of our country. Alphonso will become the most expensive once Bayern do move him on, or they sign him to whatever the situation is. But one thing we have athletes in our country, and we've got such a diverse community. We got, like, Alfonso's from a refugee camp from Africa, so he's coming a week. We just got such a diverse people from all over the country. We don't just have Canadians; we have Canadians with some other type of ethnicity behind them. Why is Alfonso? He is, I think, if not mistaken, the fastest soccer player in the world right now. Like, actual time, he's the fastest player in the world. So,
but is he a Canadian soccer Hall of Famer?
Is he a Hall of Famer future? I don't know how many Hall of Fames that kid's going to get. But I tell you what it is. He is the nicest kid you'll ever meet. Like, what a great kid. He'll do anything for you. There's stories of him in Vancouver wanting to train with the Whitecaps, but he can't, because with the academy, then they ask him, if you want to be involved in training, go be a lines person. And he goes and lines the field. He's so humble. He doesn't get carried away with stuff.
Cup final on Sunday against Livingston. Again, at Hampden, no fans are going to be there. How do you think they're going to get on next?
It was interesting, because I've been watching a little bit of Livingston games as well to see what they're about. Obviously, the change, Gary Holt was a person I knew quite well, because we played against each other. He has some Canadian heritage in him as well, so that's why we got to be a little bit pally when I was playing there. Watching, then they obviously turned the corner a little bit on the new manager. They've had a few rough results lately, so it's a tough one. Like, I looked at it and going, it's a game where, like, if you look at the Hibernian game, the semifinal, it was like it could have went really poorly in the first few minutes. our first sort of 20 minutes or so, but it did. So I think the way since that game and how the team's been playing and how Callum's had been playing, and even though 2-1 lost against Still, I think they've got to go into this game really feeling really positive. But Callum's going to be, as I say, he's the coolest manager, just so chilled out. He'll be just relaxed about it. But I think if there's ever a time you can walk into a final and you can go, you know what, we deserve to be there and we actually could take this one. I think this is a final they could easily say it, knowing what they can do. No fear at all, zero fear.
The problem with Saints going into a final as favourites is always a worry for me when Saints go into a match as a favourite. But yeah, the wheels, I don't know if the wheels have came off the Livy bus at the moment, but yeah, 2 defeats. Martindale's never had to deal with that kind of issue before. Couldn't have came at a better time for St Johnstone, certainly. As long as St Johnstone are up there lifting the trophy, I couldn't give a jot to what's happening at Livingston, to be honest with you.
Well, exactly. And I think that Callum, like I said, I've been impressed with the way he's handled the media, particularly because I know how tough that can be. And I know how well he's handled, controversial calls. You see him the way he deals with things like that. And even after games when things haven't gone well, he's just so even keeled. And I think it's real. I don't know what he's like in the locker room. Like I played with Callum, and when I played with Callum, he was just a young boy, on his way to bigger and better things at Blackburn. I can remember him getting sold that week when he got sold to Blackburn, but did his thing, calm, quiet, confident, and I think he'll be one of those. Instead of one of our players leaving, I think he could be one of our coaches that leave down the road and for bigger and better things again. Because I do believe he's on a path to becoming a legitimate football manager at a high level. I really do. Yeah, if he's smart, he can spend 2 to 3 seasons at St Johnstone for sure and get his feet wet, because there'll be some rough times. We know that. That's just the way things go, and he'll have to navigate through them. There'll be some good times, and everything's going to be growth for him. One thing that he'll have above a lot of other managers having the chance to work in down south is that he'll have the chance of the transfer market where there's a lot of loan deals come in, things like that. And that's really, I'd say for St. Johnstone manager, that's one of the most important aspects, is to be able to deal in the transfer market and be very clever in it. That's a key one. You can't make mistakes. You can't go and sign 3 or 4 guys for some good money. And I think that's what St. Johnstone always done, even when I was as a player. We knew, the club knew, if things did go sour, it would never bankrupt the club. We were going to survive. Other clubs got promoted and they went and started, paying crazy amounts of money to players. And if things went poorly, then the team was going to be in trouble. And I think at that time when Jeff Brown had the team, that would never happen. And we knew it was going to happen. And no one puts a gun to your head when you sign a contract at St. John's. You don't want to sign a contract, move on. But I think there's you might not get always as much as somewhere else, but there's other benefactors to that, where you're going to be in a club where they're never going to have any issues of, we got financial trouble or this kind of thing. So they've always been run as a very good professional organization. And I think you have to take your hats off to the Brown family for that. They've kept this club alive and well for many, many years. And it's a big weekend. Hopefully they can, like I said, lift the trophy and have some physical distancing night out somehow. I don't know how the hell you do that. I'll figure it out.
No, it's been amazing and a privilege to have you on, to watch you in that cup final as a 16-year-old lad, now speaking to you. But no, it's been an absolute pleasure speaking to you. But just before I go, I noticed you've got a guitar there in the background. Are you still playing?
Yeah, I got a guitar. I got some electronic drums. I got my bicycle. This is kind of my little room here. So I just stick everything in here. It's kind of a man cave, I would call it. But it's there's days when I play it and I'm still crap, but I still give it a go. It's one of those ones where people say, what do you do in your spare time? And, I do watch a lot of football. I just do. Some days when it just starts when you can't see another ball, you sit down and play a guitar. I like to put the drums. I put my headphones on and I put some music to it. And the family don't hear me when I'm banging around, and you can just put a full-on concert in your head and just go for it. So it's quite fun. It's good.
I presume you've never told your family the name of your original band and your parents.
Oh, they know. Oh, they know. Yeah, they know. My kids just shake their head and just kind of whatever. But no, they know. They're not into that type of music. They always bug me about my type of music. So we have a difference of opinion on our music in this house. So that's why I'm downstairs, not up on the main floor.
Thanks for joining us.
No, you guys have been great. You know what? Particularly during these times, it's just showing that it's that connectivity between it's such an important part of being a football club. And I think, and people they use the word community very loosely in football. I want to build a community. They don't. It's in the higher levels, they don't. But I truly believe in St. Johnstone and Perth, it is a community. And I think, and again, I was part of the fabric of the city. My eldest boy was born in Perth, so we've got some Scottish blood running into her family. It just, that connection with the city that will forever, ever be with myself, my family. I still, if I go back, I still call it home. And it sounds kind of strange sometimes, but if I'm going back to the UK, I'm just going to head home and you forget about that. And I'll always drive by the old house and then drive by McDiarmid Park, do the same old thing. And give Jim Weir a call still for finally buy me a pint or something. So always go by his place. But no, it's a lovely place. We had some great times. I hope Callan and the boys can turn one over on Livingston and bring a trophy. It'd be an incredible thing for the city in what we've all gone through, right? So it'd be a fantastic moment. So I wish you guys all the best. Keep this program going as long as you can. It's awesome. And we'll be listening.
Thanks again, Nick. Appreciate that, buddy. Take care.
Cheers, lads. Have a great day. Good luck in the final.
Well, is he just the nicest man in sport? I think he probably is.
Oh, what a sweetheart. Honestly, I don't mind. We can tell the listeners, me and you, after that interview finished, just sat there for about 10 minutes, just goggle-eyed.
Yeah, but we fangirled a bit after that one, didn't we? I'll apologise as well for the audio. When we recorded the interview the other day, I accidentally deleted it. Oops. So I managed to scarp around and find it on Zoom and lift the audio off that. So that's why I sound a wee bit echoey in that. But for the first time ever, Dan sounded great.
Well, that's it. Every cloud and all that stuff.
In all the hullabaloo of basically swooning over Nick Dasovic for half an hour, we never even mentioned Monaco.
We made a total cock and balls of it, to be honest with you.
But
no, we covered plenty. But I think what that gives us, Sam,
go on.
It gives us the opportunity to get him back on at a later date.
Brilliant.
To discuss Monaco.
Yes.
And I'm not just saying I'm in this podcast just to chat to Nick Dasovic from time to time, but
if he genuinely wanted to come on every week, I would let him.
He was an absolute star. What a thoroughly enjoyable time doing that interview.
Yep, nicest guy all the time in the world for us. Club legend, and we're going to start our campaign to get him in the Hall of Fame, Dan, starting next week.
Yes, we are starting next week, the campaign for Nick Dasovic to enter the St Johnstone Hall of Fame. Not just because of that interview and because we loved him, but we feel there's grounds to get him in.
I think so. But yeah, we'll get him back on next time Saints are in Europe for a European special, I think.
Yeah, and plus, it must be said, because of the time difference, I was in pyjamas when I was doing that interview, and I thought that was quite a liberating feeling, so more of that.
If any ex-player wants to come on at 3:30 in the morning, we are all for it, so Dan can wear his jammies. That theme tune never tires. That obviously signifies it's time for George O'Boyle and the Royal.
I've got a bone to pick with you about that theme tune, by the way.
Go on.
Well, last week's episode, you pulled me up and said, "Oh, Dan, you never mentioned the theme tune when we used it for the first time." I hadn't heard it. And I hadn't heard it at the time I recorded it when we used it for the first time, because it goes in afterwards.
That's very true.
Pull me up like a kipper.
My wife Lynn likes to insert little jingles and things like that, so I'll apologize.
Rhino noise.
And there was a rhino noise. It wasn't anything wrong with your player. She was getting a bit carried away last week, so we'll make sure not putting any noises this week. This week's George O'Boyle and the Royal was sent in by Michael Berdon on Instagram. He writes, I was managing a restaurant up in Musselburgh, and with it being a big race weekend, we were getting absolutely hammered. I had to take names of people coming in and get them to sit in the bar area until a table was ready. A couple came in, and the gentleman looked awfully like John Conley, but it's one of those ones that you reckon you're a bit stressed and your mind's playing tricks. I asked for their name for the table, and when they said Conley, I became totally flustered and said, John Conley, the John Conley. Saints legend John Conley. I think he was a bit shocked that anyone recognised him, but I had a quick chat about Saints while I sat him in the bar area, and he was absolutely brilliant. That's a nice story.
That is a nice story. I mean, he sounds all starry-eyed like, me and you did at the end of that interview with Nick.
Shh. We need to keep our cool demeanour with this one.
I think that's well out of the water.
I think so. But he goes on to say that he had the shortest wait for a table that evening after I bumped them to the top of the list. I think that's how it should work. If you're in the Saints' top 50 greatest players of all time, you automatically get a table right away.
Yeah, let's not get caught up in this whole interest of fairness about who was in first. No, that's not how it works. That is the correct way to run a restaurant there. Legend comes in, get him to the top of the list.
Do you think he goes in with the book and points to people? I'm number one, son.
Look at me. What are you going to do about it?
Exactly right. But that's almost like a Saints story. But no, we're certainly filing that under the category of O'Boyle in the Royal. So this week we've seen John Conley in a restaurant in Musselburgh. You also added on at the end that Kevin James was in a little bit later as well. So it must be pretty popular.
Well, what we want to know. So if you have any stories about seeing any Saints players anywhere, for example, have you ever seen Peter Davenport purchasing a big bag of pastry goods from Murray's? Or, to bring it more up to date, have you ever seen Elliot Parish taking in a Sunday sermon down at your local parish church? Please let us know by all the usual channels.
This is genuinely my favourite bit of script writing for the week, is coming up with where have we seen random Saints players in random locations.
We peaked too soon with Cleveland Taylor and the Tails.
How are we possibly going to top that? We'll seamlessly transition into Saints stories. If anybody can think of a good name for this feature, let us know. But we will carry on with Saints stories regardless. It's another Dingwall story this week, and it's coming from Dan again.
This is so good. It is absolutely worthy of a Cup Final special episode. It might be up there with the time I fell down a hill in Dingwall. But I don't know. We'll leave that for the listeners to decide.
Dan, the floor is yours.
This was about 12 months ago. This was last February. Little did we know what was going to sort of happen in a few short weeks. It makes me sort of glad we did this trip. So we're playing county away. Ultimately, Sam, I just shouldn't be allowed anywhere near Dingwall.
There's a common theme when it comes to these stories, Dan.
Chaos just seems to ensue. So anyway, we've headed up. This day started with me carrying a big crate of Peroni in my hands, having legged it, such is my timekeeping again. But this was because I was looking for a bottle opener in the flat. I just didn't have one apart from a tin opener that I'd had from my first week of uni. So I've climbed onto the train looking like I've just run the London Marathon with a box of Peroni and a tin opener in my hand. Anyway, so we're in the Mallet. We got this text through saying all trains are off going back. Like, right, well, it'll be a bit of a pain, but at least I'll have replacements on. So there was, as I said, there was only the three of us. So me and Gregsy, we've gone to court. We said to Adam, you go ahead, you go and see what the situation is with the bus. So yeah, me and Gregsy have come out with supplies of 4-pint tins of Tennants and a tube of Pringles.
Standard.
It took two of us about a quarter of an hour to do that. In the meantime, Adam's rung us and said, all right, get down here, time's getting pretty tight. Right, I'm going to word this very carefully because I don't want it to reflect badly on Adam, and I fully believe him. But by the time we got from the co-op, which is 5 minutes from the station, to the station, Adam had been barred from the bus. So I'm trying to work. I'm like, what's happened? Fully believe this is how it went down. So it was a brand spanking new bus. It had no toilet on it. And so Adam's gone to the bus driver. He's like, you got a toilet on here, mate? The bus driver's like, no. Like, well, it's not a direct replacement for the train then, is it? Because, you know, how are you going to have people travelling out?
Especially yourself.
Which was a concern about us, given we had a few pints and whatnot, without having a toilet. And the bus driver's like, there's no concern of mine and all that. And I went, oh, right, so if anyone needs one, they'll just have to piss up your bus. Now, he said that flippantly. Yeah, the bus driver saw that as Adam threatening to piss on his bus. He's got turfed off. Me and Greg's had suddenly been banned from the bus as well, despite the fact that we hadn't even been there for it kicking off. So then we're talking to two sort of station staff, trying to sort it out. And I just heard the noise. He's like, shh.
The doors.
And then he drove off. And I just stood, I didn't like, you know, I just stood there like sort of a player indignant at a referee's decision, just arms out like, what are you doing?
At this point, the replacement bus is left. You, Adam and Greg are standing in Inverness with no way of getting back to Perth. Is that right?
That's the situation. So I've gone back in. I thought, I better chat with these guys, see if there's anything they can do. And they went to me, he went, look, mate, they said, we've got a bus, got a Wisher. Said, can get you on that. The driver said he'll stop in Perth. Said, you just got to be ready in 20 minutes. So anyway, we got on this bus, which had a toilet. Anyway, so certain members were happy. Sat down, there was no one else got on. There was the three of us. So we've all introduced ourselves to the driver. Oh, we got the tunes on. We had a good sing. So it was honestly, it worked out. It worked out pretty well. It was just the three of us. But he's probably expecting a nice quiet drive back because he was going back down to Bells Hill, I think it was. And he's ended up taking 3 absolute numpties back to Perth.
Giving it the GBX anthems on the way down the road.
GBX was on. It was all good. I think there's a video knocking about. I had pulp on at some point.
Oh, wow.
Well, that was obviously when I had control of things. Anyway, he must have been really keen to get home. Probably shouldn't say this. He was lacing it down. But we didn't realise. I was sort of like, we've just seen a train station out of one of the windows and thought, oh, it must be Aviemore or something like that. But Dunkeld. So this was the last replacement for the last train. Last train's at 8:20, so it was later than that. We were back in Dickens having a pint by 10:30.
That's glorious.
It was very much all's well that ends well. Basically, long story short, if you're going to get a replacement bus, whatever you fucking do, don't get one with no toilet and don't fall out with a driver.
And again, another story involving Dingwall and piss.
Yeah. It's I hope to at some point move away from such subject matters, but you know what? I was going to actually contrive that because I was quite confident being another story about Dingwall and piss that the reason we got kicked off the bus was like something different, but I seemed like too much effort in the end.
This is the kind of highbrow content people listen for, Dan. A great story. And if you've got any stories, especially involving Dingwall, that seems to be the hallmark of a good tale. Let us know, and you can feature in our Saints Stories section of the podcast. We're going to wrap up the show by obviously going back to the Cup final this Sunday, St Johnstone versus Livingston at Hampden Park, 2 p.m. on Premier Sports. What are you thinking, Dan?
Well, right, to go with the game first, I'm feeling cautiously optimistic. I think the form we've been in recently has been very good. I think the players are sort of, in the grand scheme of the season, with cup run and sort of league campaign, and the players are sort of peaking at the right time. Or maybe not peaking, maybe just this is the best football they've played all season. I still think they've got gears to go through. In terms of the actual day, I'm not going to beat about the bush here. It's not going to be as good as if we were going.
Yeah, I agree.
We all know that.
We can do our best with it though. We can have a good couple of beers watching the football. That's our plan. We're having a little Zoom party to watch it. We're going to have a Zoom party after the match to kind of celebrate together. So we'll get around it. We'll make it our day. But again, it's disappointing. I don't think we'll ever see St Johnstone at a cup final at Hampden.
It seems like our white whale. No, try to be positive about it. As you just said, look, we'd all love to be there. But such is life at the minute with bigger things at play. And ultimately, we can sit and moan or sit and feel sorry for ourselves that we're not going. The alternative at the start of all this was there'd be no football at all. It was either going to be there's football with us not being there or no football at all. And that brings me back to the point. It's about the 11 lads that are going to take to the field in blue shirts. That is what it comes down to. And everyone's really, I'm not going to give it all the, well, they'll be there in spirit or whatever, because that's bollocks. It's just, we're not going to be there. But we can still make something of it. We'll still all have a great day. Something I was thinking about, because everyone's going to be missing out in some way. Folk like myself who be going, it'd be a big day out. I was also thinking about, like the little ones, because, Sam, obviously, your two boys.
Mm-hmm.
When you're little and it's like, you see the big ground and all that. I do feel that everyone's missing out. But, as I say, you've got to look at the positives. We'll all still be able to do something. We'll all still be able to enjoy it. Make the best of it, because you don't know when these days are going to come around again, do you, Sam?
Here, Dan. Exactly right. And we'll be back on Monday, the day after the final. We usually record on a Sunday, but there's absolutely no danger of us being in any fit state to be doing such a thing. So our episode, if we can work our little socks off, we might be able to produce the goods for the Monday night. If not, we'll be releasing the podcast on Tuesday. We've got a special guest lined up who is massive. We'll dissect the cup final for you next week. We'll have the return of the Doggers on tour. We'll have Saints stories, insults, our Twitter polls, all of that good stuff, and we'll be back on Monday. And just a shout out once again to the St Johnstone banter page on Facebook, who are running a massive raffle. 250 tickets available. I think they've got much less than that now, less than 50, to win cash prizes of up to £500, and also Jason Kerr's Cup semi-final shirt signed by the team up for grabs as well. Go on there, go get your ticket and have a chance to win that.
Yeah, just want to give a big birthday shout out. A good friend of mine, Dave McPhee, he'll be celebrating his birthday on Cup final day. And also just a happy birthday for Cup final day to my nephew Job, who's 19.
That concludes our Cup final special. Hope you've enjoyed listening and there's something in there for everybody. I just want to say thanks again to producer Lynn, who cobbles this all together. The Dogger Saints, who help out behind the scenes with social media and getting guests and the like. And most importantly, you guys for listening. We do this as a hobby. We've both got full-time jobs, so we really appreciate you listening and the feedback we get from you as well. So we'll keep doing it as long as you guys keep wanting to listen.
Yeah, here, Sam, just to extend my thanks and best wishes to everyone who's helped us and to everyone out there listening. So appreciated. We're having so much fun doing this. And hopefully we have a massive celebratory episode for you next week. But in the meantime, we'll sign out by saying, come on, the Saints!
Come on, the Saints!
It's Waterspoon's corner. Chesniak struggling. Stephen Anderson scores. St Johnstone have the lead in their first ever Scottish Cup final. And that's fired it up. And it comes to the man who's spent a decade with the Saints. Oh, it's come through to McLean. He has scored. Stephen McLean and St Johnstone are staring at the Scottish Cup now. That's it. They've done it. They've won it. If you're going to wait 130 years to reach the Scottish Cup final, you've just got to go and win it. This is a football first. There's a new name on the world's oldest national trophy. The name of St Johnstone Football Club. St Johnstone have won Scottish Cup.